Hey, how's it going? Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a list video for you guys. So for this list, I'll be going over some bands we might see new albums from in the year 2024. So 2024 is just around the corner, and 2023 is actually over halfway over, come to think of it. I mean, where did the time go, right? This year has definitely been flying by real fast. So I think it is a good time to start talking about our most anticipated entertainment coming up here in the following year. So for this video, I'll be talking about some albums, some bands that we could see new albums from in the year 2024. Now, I do want to make something very clear here. This is not a confirmed list. All right? I want to make that totally clear that this is not a confirmed list. This is more speculation than anything else. Okay? So, not that this has ever happened to me before or anything, but, just in case someone by the end of 2024 might say, hey, Zach, remember that video you did where you talked about bands we could see new albums from in 2024? Well, that band and this band didn't release new albums in 2024, so therefore you're a liar on unsubscribing from your channel, and you're clearly unreliable, and you don't know what you're talking about. Again, this is not a confirmed list, so before you come at me with that, if you watch this in the future, of course, just keep that in mind. This is all speculation more than anything else. And I think that there is also a possibility that some of these albums could release later this year. A few of them anyways. I mean, I'm not sure of the likelihood of it. I mean, is it possible? Sure. Because I do realize that we still have the fall to get through yet. So, I just feel like we would have heard more information about these bands coming out with new albums if that was the case. So there is that. I have about 12 bands listed here, and this list is also in no particular order, so let's go ahead and begin. So the first band I'm going to go over here is Anthrax. Anthrax is definitely overdue for a new album. Of course, they're thrash metal legends from the Big Four, and their last album came out in 2016, For All Kings, which I thought was a solid album, and I think if they could just stay consistent like that for the next album, that would be really good. And I thought that both the albums that Anthrax released with Joey's Return have been pretty solid, so I'm sure the new one will be good as well. And Anthrax, I would say that they're an underrated band, but not really. I mean, obviously, they left their mark in metal and everything, but I definitely do think that when it comes to what band of the Big Four I think is the most underrated, I would definitely say Anthrax is the most underrated band of the Big Four, and I'm sure a lot of you could agree with me on that as well. So, Anthrax, definitely a great band, and we know that they've been working on a new album for some time now, so it is surprising that we haven't gotten anything yet. I mean, in 2022, we got a new album from Megadeth, and then this year we had a new Metallica album, so you're up next, Anthrax, come on now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of expecting to see a new Anthrax album release in 2024, but we'll see. I mean, that's what I hope anyways. So, next we got Judas Priest. Judas Priest is another band that has been working on a new album for some time now. And, I mean, if you're a metal fan, how are you not excited for new Judas Priest music? Their last album, Firepower, was really strong, and in my opinion, probably their best album since Painkiller. I thought that that was a really strong album, so I'm sure whatever they have to offer next is going to be really good as well. So, yeah, I would say it's likely we could get the next Judas Priest album in 2024. And these guys have been at it for a long time, so could this be their final album? Who knows? Who really knows at this point? It just shows that the band is still passionate and dedicated to their fans and making new music, which is really cool. So definitely looking forward to new Judas Priest. Next, we got Demon Hunter. Now, I know that we just had Exile in the fall of 2022, but I think we have heard before that Demon Hunter has already started working on their next album, like shortly after Exile or shortly or shortly after the release of Exile or shortly before the release of Exile. Either way, we know that Demon Hunter, they're not done, they're not slowing down for nothing, We know that they definitely are cooking up some new stuff for us, and I think that Demon Hunter has been really generous towards the fan base lately. We've been getting a lot of stuff from this band over the past few years. Of course, in 2021, we had Songs of Death and Resurrection, which is basically an acoustic compilation album, which I thought was solid. And in the following year, 2022, we had Exile, which Exile I do like. I think it's a solid album, but in my personal opinion, I kind of want them to stray away from that style on the next album. For me personally, basically the gist of what I want from Demon Hunter's next album is I want them to go back to their metalcore roots. I mean, I think we can all see this at this point, especially if you're a Demon Hunter fan, that they haven't really been the same since Outlive, which is kind of a shame. I mean, you can definitely tell their music is a lot more melodic, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, their melodies are, what made me fall in love with the band to begin with, so there is that, but I don't know. I think their sound just worked better when, they made albums like The World is a Thorn and The Triptych and True Defiance and albums like those, like just metalcore albums like those with a couple ballads on them, which, gave it some diversity, And I do appreciate the diverse sound, I guess, on Exile, but I know that a lot of fans want more of the same of what we got from Exile, but for me, that's not what I want. But obviously, if they did more of that, then so be it. I would still listen to it, obviously, so there is that. So, could we get a new Demon Hunter album in 2024? It's possible, of course. I think it is possible, but I think if Demon Hunter does release their next album in 2024, it probably won't be till later in the year, if I had to guess. So, yeah, I mean, I would say either 2024 or 2025 is when Demon Hunter is going to release their next album. So, that's my guess anyway. Okay, so next we got Fear Factory. Fear Factory is a great band. They've never had a misstep, no bad album in their discography, although I can understand why some people might have their concerns with the next Fear Factory album, because Burton C. Bell, for those who don't know, has left the band and they got a replacement vocalist, so their next album will be the first album with their current vocalist, which is crazy to think about. I mean, I'm definitely open to hearing the next Fear Factory album with the new singer. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Their last album, I believe, came out in 2021, so I guess it would be reasonable to believe that we could get the new Fear Factory album fairly soon here. Probably 2024 by the earliest, I would say. So next, we got Trivium. So Trivium released 2 albums back-to-back in 2020 and in 2021. In 2020, we had What the Dead Men Say, and in 2021, we had In the Court of the Dragon, which is something we didn't expect. We didn't really expect Trivium to release albums back-to-back like that, so that was definitely a pleasant surprise. So because their last album was in 2021, I think we are getting close to that point where we are due for a new Trivium album. We're close to that point anyway, so we might get the next Trivium album by 2024. I mean, at least by their track record, they usually wait no more than 3 years to release a new album, but we'll have to see what happens, of course. So I think it is possible we could get Trivium's next album in 2024. That would be great if that does end up being the case, of course. So next on the list, we got Breaking Benjamin. Now, where do I even begin with this one? Because I think a lot of us expected Breaking Benjamin to release a new album this year, but unfortunately, guys, I don't think that that's going to happen. But of course, I could be wrong on that, because I'm sure that some fans are holding out in hopes of Breaking Benjamin releasing an album later this year, like maybe this fall or something. But again, I just feel like we would have heard something by now, like a single or something. I mean, but what do I know, right? I mean, the possibility is still there, but I'm just not sure of the likelihood of it. hopefully by spring 2024 we do get a new Breaking Benjamin album. But all in all, I'm just ready to give up on this band completely. Because, I mean, it's been too long, man. It's been way too long since Breaking Benjamin has released an album. I mean, I personally don't see why they wouldn't be working on a new album. I mean, that's the rumor, that they've been working on a new album. And I don't see why they wouldn't, since their last album came out 1,000 years ago at this point. I know that that's over-exaggerating. I know their last album came out in 2018, which was Ember, which I thought was good, but not one of their best. And I know that we had Aurora as well, which was basically just a compilation album, which honestly was kind of a letdown, and I know that a lot of fans would say the same thing, so yeah, I'm not sure what to expect. Again, I'm almost ready to just give up on a new Breaking Benjamin album. You know, I'm just like, you know what, if they release one, they release one. If not, oh well. And it's crazy too, because I feel like we're waiting just as long for this next Breaking Benjamin album as long as we've been waiting for Breaking Benjamin to come back from hiatus in the early 2010s, you know, with Dark Before Dawn. It's really insane to me. Like, they might as well be on another hiatus, you know? So, again, I'm not sure what to expect. Again, I just kind of have this attitude at this point, like, if we get a new Breaking Benjamin album, then cool, we get it, and I'll listen to it, but if not, oh well. That's kind of my attitude as of this moment. But, you know, hopefully 2024 is the year we get that new Breaking Benjamin album. Okay, so next we got Korn. Now, I believe I have heard that Korn was working on a new album, you know, so I guess the earliest we could expect Korn's next album is 2024. Now, their last album, Requiem, I thought was good, but not great. I mean, it's definitely not one of their best, but I don't think that album is as bad as a lot of people say it is. I know that some people really crap on that album. Again, it's nowhere near their best, but it's not bad, I don't think. So, yeah, I'm sure whatever Korn has to offer next, it'll be solid. So next, we got Death Angel. Now, I think that Death Angel is probably one of the likely bands to release a new album later this year. Like, if I were to guess a list of bands that could release albums this fall, I would honestly put Death Angel on that list. I mean, we're definitely due for a new Death Angel album. It's been a few years since their last album, Humanicide, which I thought was a great album, so I'm sure whatever they're cooking up next, it's going to be really good. So whether it comes out later this year or 2024, I'm sure it's going to be a very solid album. So next, we got Sepultura. That's right, if you didn't know, Sepultura is also working on a new album, or they have been working on one, or whatever. I would guess 2024 is when we're going to get the next Sepultura album, so yeah, that'll be cool. Can't complain about new Sepultura, right? Next, we got Testament. Now, Testament is another legendary thrash band, and given Testament's track record, they seem to like to release new albums every 4 years. So I know that Titans of Creation came out in 2020, so I would say we might get that new Testament album in 2024. That would be really cool. So yeah, hopefully we get the next Testament album in 2024. Next, we got Dream Theater. Now, I'm not really sure how likely this one is for a 2024 release, because I think I've heard somewhere some time ago where, you know, some article saying, like, don't expect another Dream Theater album till at least 2025, you know, for some reason, I don't know. But, you know, obviously the possibility is there for Dream Theater to release an album in 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed back to 2025, like the rumors are saying. So yeah, and I'm curious to see how they'll follow up A View from the Top of the World as well, because I do feel that that album was kind of a return to form for the band. So I'm curious to see what Dream Theater will do next with this next album. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. So next we got Deftones, of course, a legendary nu metal band. Deftones has never released a bad album, so I'm sure whatever they have to offer next, it's going to be really good. And I believe Deftones is in fact working on a new album, or they have been, at least. Similar to Testament, Deftones, I've noticed, also likes to release new albums every 4 years or so, at least. since 2012. In 2012, we had Koyo no Kon, and then in 2016, we had Gore, and then in 2020, we had Ohms, which Ohms I thought was a solid album, so that album I think is a sign of a bright future for the next Deftones release, because again, I think it's a solid album, so again, I think whatever Deftones has to offer for the fans next, it's going to be a good one, so I would say it's likely. I would say it's highly likely we could get a new Deftones album in 2024, so that's exciting to think about for sure. So let me know what you think. What did you think of this list? Do you also think it's possible we could get albums from these bands in 2024? Are there any bands that I didn't name that you're expecting new releases from in 2024? So feel free to let me know what you think. So on that note, thanks for watching. Have a good one.